welcome to Really Cool Gaming Exploits, and I've got some random news for you. This is actually kind of important in a way. Steam Early Access, you may be aware of, where developers can release a game in a beta or alpha state and then allow people to fund their game until release. Well, there's been a couple of high profile cases where this has failed to occur, such as DayZ has had a lot of people that have been rather disappointed with it, although that has continued to get updates and it hasn't reached the final finished states yet. But here's some examples of games that have failed to reach release. In May, Valve took away a first-person sci-fi post-apocalyptic open-world game called Earth Year 2066 from Steam Early Access. They offered refunds for disgruntled customers because the game was labelled broken. Killing Day Studios had also been accused of misleading customers with inaccurate claims. And also even Double Fine, a great studio that released games such as Brutal Legend and Broken Age, had a game called Space DF9. Double Fine deemed the game unworthy for future investment, so they decided to give away a free copy of Hack and Slash, another one of their games that they've developed previously, to people that had bought the game. So that was a good example of how to deal with it, but unfortunately there has been a few developers out there that have released the game on Steam Early Access, put a couple of updates out there for the players, and then pulled the project. Like, after they've received a certain amount of cash, I have no idea, but it's morally questionable what's been going on. So here's some quotes from Valve. When you launch a game on Steam Early Access, there is an expectation by customers that you will continue development to a point where you have what you consider a finished game. We know that nobody can predict the future and circumstances frequently change, which may result in a game failing to reach a finished state, or may fail to meet customer expectations in some other way. We work hard to make sure the risk is communicated clearly to customers, but we also ask that developers follow a set of rules that are intended to help inform customers and set proper expectations when purchasing their games. They've outlined a few rules to follow. One of them is do not make specific promises about future events. For example, there's no way you can know exactly when the game will be finished, that the game will be finished, or that planned future editions will definitely happen. Do not ask your customers to bet on the future of your game, just try and convince them basically to buy the game in the state that it's currently in for a value that would match the state that the game is currently in. So basically, if you want to release on Early Access, you need to have a game that's playable in alpha or beta state. A couple of the rules that they've outlined here: don't launch in Early Access if you cannot afford to develop with very few or no sales. So basically you need to already have some capital behind you to put a game on Steam Early Access. It's not something you can just do on your own in your bedroom without any savings going into the game. There is no guarantee that your game will sell as many units as you anticipate. If you are counting on selling a specific number of units to survive and complete your game, then you need to think carefully about what it would mean for you and your team if you don't sell as many units. Are you willing to continue developing the game without any sales? Are you willing to seek other forms of investment? So basically, don't rely on Steam Early Access as your sole basis for the funding of your projects. So if you fail Kickstarter, then don't come to Steam Early Access. You need to get some funding for your game first. Make sure you set expectations properly everywhere you talk about your game. So when you talk about your game, don't try and big it up to be something that it's not, which goes without saying. For example, if you know your updates during Early Access will break save files or make customers start over with building something, make sure that you say that up front and say this everywhere you sell your Steam keys. Okay, these all seem very fair so far. Don't launch in Early Access without a playable game, well, that goes without saying. If you have a tech demo but not much gameplay yet, then it's probably too early to launch in Early Access. If you are trying to test out a concept and haven't quite figured out what players are going to do in your game that makes it fun, then it's probably too early. Basically, actually have a beta or alpha. Don't launch in Early Access if you're done with development. So has that actually happened? People have completed their development and then launched in Early Access for some reason. That makes no sense. If you have all of your gameplay defined already and you are just looking for final bug testing, then Early Access isn't the right place for that. You'll probably just want to send out some keys to fans or do more internal playtesting. Early Access is intended as a place where customers can impact on the game. So essentially, don't launch if you can't afford to fund your own game. If you can't afford to fund your own game yet, seek funding elsewhere. Don't use early access as your sole source of funding. So, like, if you've got a budget and you can stick to it, go for it. But if not, don't. Make sure you have a playable beta or alpha, and make sure it's actually playable. If you're going to break someone's save files with a new update, then let your customers know somehow. It just seems like Valve is attempting to make sure that people know that they can finish development on a game before putting it on Steam Early Access, because the amount of complaints that have been sent through to Valve over games that are broken, not finished, haven't received an update in like nearly a year, just ridiculous stuff like that. This seems all very feasible and fair to me, and it'll probably improve Steam Early Access greatly. I mean, I got DayZ very early on in the development, and when I got it, there was originally no zombies at all. There was no zombies on the game. It was a game about zombies with no zombies, and next to no loot. You could just basically run around the map. So they released that far too early, and it's still developing now. I haven't gone back to it for a long time, but apparently that's improved greatly. So, I mean, hopefully this will improve Steam Early Access and make the games more viable to purchase, because at the moment it is very risky. It's very risky, to say the least, buying a game on Steam Early Access currently. Always, obviously, be buyer aware, be a smart consumer, be careful about what you buy. Always check out other people's opinions of games before you purchase them, unless you have money to throw away. If you don't have money to throw away, be very careful on Steam Early Access. And that game goes for buying any game, really. But yeah, thank you for watching Really Cool Game Exploits. Good stuff you have on the channel, hopefully you do. Hopefully Steam Early Access will improve greatly. Goodbye.